This right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is the leadership of the LA Fire Department. I sure hope they know what they're doing.
Imagine for a second that you have a friend who is a few hundred pounds overweight and he has a heart attack. And while in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, he is yelling and blaming the paramedics who are treating him for the heart attack that he just had, saying that it is their fault that he has a heart attack. That is what people around Donald Trump are doing right now. People like Elon Musk are blaming the firefighters for the fires as opposed to looking and acknowledging the actual underlying causes that have led to these wildfires in California. And in the case of Elon Musk, it's obvious why he's doing it. But I'll get to all that in a bit. First, I want to show you, I'm sure as you've seen, a lot of what is going on in California. And this is just one of 1,000 examples a year of how the climate crisis has impacted people directly. As Vox writes, wildfires are raging across Los Angeles. The largest is in Pacific Palisades, which has grown to over 17,000 acres as of Thursday morning and forced hundreds of thousands of people to evacuate. And I'm sure you've seen some of these images. Just absolute devastation. And the reason that this has been able to spread as much as it has is because of the conditions on the ground. So as Vox writes, firefighters are working desperately to corral the flames and keep them away from people's homes, but there's little they can do to halt the combination of ample fuel, dry weather, and high winds, which are poised to continue. It will take another force of nature to quell this one. Quote, until widespread rains occur, this risk will continue. There hasn't been any real notable rain in LA since May. Now, this, of course, has to do with the underlying cause, which is the climate crisis. As The Guardian writes here, the short answer is that the greenhouse gases humans continue to emit are fueling the climate crisis and making big fires more common in California. As the atmosphere warms, hotter air evaporates water and can intensify drought more quickly. Melting Arctic ice creates changes in the jet stream's behavior that make wind-driven large wildfires in California more likely. Recent studies have found that Santa Ana winds could get less frequent, but perhaps more intense in the winter months due to the climate crisis. So you may remember about a year ago, the opposite happened in LA. There was a record-breaking storm with tons of rain, causing even mudslides. And since then, there has been almost no rain. So this oscillating back and forth has led to a more intense impact. So these swings between extreme rainfall and drought have been dubbed weather whiplash, and climate scientists expect these shifts to become more common along the West Coast, and that could increase the threat of major blazes. Swain co-authored a paper published this week that reports that whiplash scenarios are increasing not just in California, but around the world due to climate change. So again, this is the problem here. But instead, there are morons on television claiming that forget the climate crisis, forget the role of capitalism and all of that. No, let's ignore all of that. The real issue is that the fire department is headed up by a lesbian woman. Yes, this is the problem, apparently. Check out this interaction on CNN with their token dipshit. And luckily, there was some pushback as well by a Democratic representative.
You might have recall a news story from last year. There was some interest in the fire departments and the firefighters in California. And the interest was that there were too many white men who were firefighters, and we need to have a program in California to make sure we don't have enough white men as firefighters. So we have DEI, we have budget cuts, and yet I'm wondering now, if your house is burning down, how much do you care what color the firefighters are?
You can respond, and then
Listen, I am so tired. You know what? There was an article that just came out that said that actually the most educated demographic in this country right now is black women. So let me be clear. Because you are a woman, or because I know that some of the right has been sharing these photos of the fact that I believe that the fire chief may be a woman or something, that has nothing to do with it. We are looking at qualifications. What diversity, equity, and inclusion has always been about is saying, you know what? Open this up. Don't just look at the white men. Open it up and recognize that other people can be qualified.
By allowing these sorts of mega dipshits to take up a spot on a CNN panel consistently, this is their usual guy, Scott Jennings, who's on there, you are impacting the ability to have any actual real conversations about the actual problems. So Scott Jennings is taking his marching orders from the rest of the mega morons. As Wired has a great piece here breaking a lot of it down, Mega is blaming DEI for the California wildfires. Rather than months without rain or the effects of climate change, figures like Elon Musk and Donald Trump Jr. are pointing to a familiar scapegoat as entire neighborhoods burn. Going on to write, DEI means people die, quote unquote, Musk wrote in one post, while multiple other posts featured criticism of Kristen Crowley, the LA Fire Department chief, a 22-year veteran of the department who was commended for saving 9 homes from total destruction during the Woolsey fire in 2018 alongside her wife. Crowley is the first woman and first member of the LGBTQ community to hold the position of fire chief in LA. So this is the shit they have been trying to pinpoint as the problem. Libs of TikTok, one of the dumbest accounts you'll ever encounter in your entire life, posting here, meet LA Fire Chief Kristen Crowley. She boasts about being the first female and LGBTQ fire chief in the LA Fire Department, promoting a culture of DEI as her priority. Does this make you feel safer? Blaming the paramedics for treating the patient, as opposed to looking at why the hell is there a fire to begin with? Absolute stupidity. John DeLilio replying to that, saying, the F is wrong with you. One of our biggest cities is on fire and you're picking fights with firefighters because of diversity. Literally the sickest people on the planet. If 9/11 happened today, they'd blame it on the fire department admitting too many women. It's hard to argue because you see what they do now. Absolutely, this is what they would have been doing if this level of depravity existed back then. So David Gilbert also sharing this, Alex Jones claimed the wildfires in LA were raging out of control on purpose as part of a, quote, globalist plot to wage economic warfare. In an now deleted tweet, Elon Musk responded by writing, true. Elon Musk. So, I mentioned him earlier with the DEI means people die. He also did that dumbassery. Worth mentioning here. So, as NPR, this is an article from last year. AI brings soaring emissions for Google and Microsoft, a major contributor to climate change. So AI requires computer power from thousands of servers that are housed in data centers, and those data centers need massive amounts of electricity to meet that demand. These companies like Google, they're no longer hitting their climate targets, their internal targets, because of their investment in AI. And who else is doing that? Elon Musk. XAI raised $6 billion as Elon Musk aims to challenge OpenAI. And that is from earlier this year or earlier last year. So there is a look, it's hard to know the motivations here because stupidity definitely plays a role. But a lot of these people also are very aware of what they are doing in their attempts to try and change the conversation to be about something else as opposed to what it actually should be about, which is the climate crisis and the role of capitalism within that. Elon Musk clearly has a vested interest to make sure the conversation is not about, for example, AI and its impact on the climate, but instead is about a lesbian firefighter. Now, let me show you another example. There's 1,000 examples of this, but here's a quick one from Jesse Waters and just the kind of narrative they're trying to lay out.
This right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is the leadership of the LA Fire Department. I sure hope they know what they're doing. Here's the fire chief.
She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I said, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
Out of 3,300 city firefighters, only 115 are women right now. She's already looking at ways to change that. The chief also checks another box when it comes to inclusivity and diversity at this department. She's a proud member of the LGBTQ community.
That just kind of opens the door of people that thought, wow, I didn't even know that was an opportunity for me.
So while her department was sending equipment to Ukraine, the chief was marching in pride parades, which is fine. Have all the pride you want, but you better make sure you're ready to do your job when it counts.
What Jesse Waters is failing to tell you there is that a lot of fire departments are facing labor shortages. They're having problems filling the positions of firefighters. They need more people to fight the fires. So by opening it up and ensuring people understand that firefighting isn't just for men, it allows more people in to the fire department to then fight the fires that happen. But no, this is a big problem because apparently when you focus on diversity or focus on expanding who can be a firefighter, that means that they're no longer interested in fighting the fire. They just want to focus on diversity. It's not like an either or thing. This is so incredibly stupid. And Jesse Waters, while he is a moron, he knows full well what he is doing here, distracting from the actual issue, the actual problem, which is the climate crisis, which is massive corporations, which is the fossil fuel industry being aware of their impact on the climate for over 50 years, focusing away from all of that because, again, that is the right wing, and focusing on what he wants you to focus on, which is a distraction, be it diversity in firefighting. Unbelievable how wild this shit is, and even crazier are the people that actually fall for this. Now, Yashar Ali tweeted this out, worth noting. Wall Street Journal confirms that the LA fires are now the costliest in U.S. history, with economic damages currently estimated to be at least $50 billion. Keep this in mind next time you're told, oh, it's too expensive to invest in green energy. Oh, it's too expensive to deal with the climate crisis in any serious way. Think of how often, and this is one event, think of how many events like this happen and how costly they are and how they directly impact people's lives on a regular basis. Think about this next time as well when you're maybe stuck in a car because there's a protest, a climate protest going on. Understand, this is going to have a direct impact on your life if it is not dealt with. Now, last thing worth mentioning is just how unprepared the Trump administration is for any of this. So there's a great piece here in the American Prospect, which, by the way, great outlet. They do proper critiques and breakdowns of Democrats, Republicans, regardless of whatever, party it is. They maintain a principled stance when it comes to what's important to the working class, what's important to the environment. They write here, Trump's attack on government capacity will fan the flames of the home insurance crisis. So the U.S. Forest Service is already underfunded and understaffed. Slashing its resources further is likely to unleash more severe wildfires. So there's also a greater conversation here about the insurance industry and how an insurance company in California recently dropped homeowners from their insurance. But they also discuss here in this piece the Trump plan, or lack thereof, to deal with these sorts of fires. Going on to write, the GOP is mulling cruel ways to offset the $5 trillion cost of extending Trump's 2017 tax cuts for corporations and the wealthy, from repealing clean energy programs and imposing work requirements on Medicaid recipients to slashing federal nutrition assistance. Staff at the Forest Service, which has already been forced to suspend its seasonal hiring due to expected budget cuts, recently warned that the Trump administration's plan to reduce federal employment and beneficial social spending means the agency will have to depend more on private donors, contractors, and volunteers to maintain public lands. And part of that maintaining of public lands is dealing with the brush that has been the fuel to a lot of these wildfires. And they've already been underfunded, and they're likely to face more cuts under Donald Trump. Last thing I want to share here is just a couple of resources I found online. So in case you're impacted by this or know somebody who is, these are evacuation shelters and animal shelters. You can pause the video and check out those addresses and emergency service numbers as well.